Alright, so I thought I'd make a video on things that Rhino Massis says. Rhino being this guy. I don't mean to criticize him, he just says a lot of interesting things in his videos which inspire thought. So I just gonna use his videos to extrapolate on certain topics. It might come across as criticizing him, but I don't dislike the person. So first of all, I would like to go over his video on side pressure here. So right, here is his video.
This is really the only exercise you will ever need for side pressure. So guys, today
So this is only exercise you need for side pressure, and
I'm going to be showing you
nothing
the
wrong
best,
with that.
latest, and most effective exercise to train your side pressure. This exercise will focus only on your muscles, and to be specific, your tricep muscle, which is solely responsible for the strength of your side pressure at the very beginning of the match. Even though
He says that the tricep is solely responsible for side pressure at the very beginning of the match, which is an interesting statement, which I will extrapolate later.
some other muscles might get activated during this exercise, the tricep is going to do most of the heavy lifting, and the power that you have from your side pressure mostly comes from your tricep. So
He says that the power that comes from the side power of the side pressure comes from the tricep, which is it's not wrong in my opinion, but it's also not the whole picture in my opinion. So I think this is all I will need to watch from this video. So I now will move on to the next video, which is his press video.
hi guys, Rino here, and today I'm going to be talking about the press, how the press actually works, how I personally get set up on a table when I want to go for a press, and how you should, or if you should even train the press. So let's get into it. So first off, I'm going to be explaining to you how the press actually works. A common misconception that people have around the press is that it solely relies on the strength of your tricep for it to be an actually effective move. And they will do a press like this, where they will try to keep their arm as far away as they can from their body and from their shoulder, and then they will try to press while maintaining that distance, or even sometimes they will try to push their opponent's arm with their tricep like this, hoping that they can pin them and actually do a press correctly. Well, this is actually completely wrong, and the strength.
I do agree that that is completely wrong. And
Your press actually relies on the size and strength of your bicep and hammer. This might sound a bit confusing at first.
I disagree on that statement a bit, but I will come back to it later.
But as I explain it, it will make more sense to you. So when you're trying to press someone, you actually want to tense your bicep and hammer up, and when you turn in for a press, you want to allow your arm to lean on your bicep like this, and using its size, you're going to press your opponent's arm down, and then you're going to be able to use the whole weight of your body, and you're going to be able to apply it to your opponent's arm like this. And your tricep almost has nothing to do with this, which actually people think it does.
Okay, I might address this topic since it's kind of separate topic to the other topic. So I think if the point he's making is that if the bicep acts as a and the forearm muscles and the tricep like this and this act as a pillow which doesn't allow the arm to close. And while it is true that they do that, I think that statement is somewhat comparable to the having a big belly when you deadlift. Like a lot of the strongman competition people, they have a big belly, like this type of belly, which obviously helps the torso to stay upright, since there is something physically on the way for the body to fold over, which would be a failure in the doing the deadlift. But obviously, to say then that to what in my opinion what Rhino is saying is that in the press, the same way as in the deadlift, in the press the bicep is the only thing that matters. It's as this that is as if saying, in my opinion, that the size of your belly is the only thing that matters in a deadlift. Like it is a supporting structure. The bicep is a supporting structure in the press, but it's not responsible of the full strength of it, in my opinion. And I will come back to this maybe further, but I would like make this analog on compare this to this belly thing, since they are the idea behind it is the same, that you are you have some kind of physical barrier between deadlift in the deadlift the belly, which prevents you from going folding over, which then obviously helps you to deadlift more. But in the same way, in the press, the bicep acts as a belly, which prevents this joint from closing all the way. And he is theorizing that that's where the power of the press comes from, which is where some of the power comes from, in my opinion. But let's continue with the video.
So again, you don't need your tricep at all. For the press, you only need your biceps and hammer to execute the press correctly. The second
That's I do not agree with that. He said that
press, you only need your biceps and hammer to nothing to do with this, which actually people think it does. So again, you don't need your tricep at all. For the press, you only
he makes the statement that you don't need the tricep at all for the press,
need your biceps and hammer to
which is a super interesting statement, which I have my own theory about it, which I will share after I go through this.
The second thing that I'm going to be explaining to you is how I actually get set up on arm wrestling, like so. So how should you train your press, or should you even train? Well, in my own personal experience, I have never trained my press through a pulley or through any move actually that simulates a press.
He says that he haven't trained any movement which simulates the press, which I think that's false, which is interesting since I'm claiming to know more about his training than he himself. But let's continue.
I have trained my triceps before, and I haven't seen any significant improvement in the overall strength of my press. And actually, when I stopped doing those exercises, my press got significantly stronger.
It's interesting that he is speaking as if he has stopped the exercises which are simulating press and which trains his press, which I think is false, but I will come back to that later.
And the best possible in executing, and when you're trying to execute, a lot of pain in this tendon right here. So, of course, training your triceps is still important, but not for the press.
So he says training for the tricep is important, for not for the press. Okay, that's all from that video. So next I would like to take a look at a little bit of his matches. And I would like to compare Rhino, however you pronounce his name, with the arm wrestler Sergey, however this is pronounced. Because I think there is a dots which can be connected with these two, because they both are very superior regarding their pressing power, as we might see here. Let's first take a look of the Rhino. Okay, As you see, that was almost completely side pressure in my opinion. Here is the press. I think that was more like a side pressure in my opinion. I think I have it on the speed. That was press in my opinion. So his press is very superior, or not superior, but not superior as if something else would be not as good, but his press is very good. But what is interesting that when he press fails, maybe we can see it somewhere, not here. Let's find a match when he press fails. Like here. You can see that he goes for the press, but he gets out of line with his hand into this position. And from that, he goes to the position which is the traditional pulling position, where you pull your hand to your pocket. As you can see. And he finishes that way. So this is a separate topic, but looking at his strategy, he looks to have a two-step attack. First he comes in with the press, which is his first hit. And if the press does not get him through, he transfers to this traditional trying to pull it to your pocket from here. And then he hits again. So his strategy is almost like a double shotgun. If first he comes out with the press, if the press fails, he immediately shots his pocketing pulling movement, which like the other guy have to hold two hits, which is, I think it's a clever strategy. But that was a separate topic. The main topic of this video is just to this pressing thing and side pressure. But as you can see, his pressing is very significant, very good. And then if you look at Sergey and his matches here, it's interesting about Sergey that he also has this very good press. He seems to even rely more on the press than Rino does. Like he just goes through people with just the press alone. Okay, I think that's enough. So what I think is the common thing with Sergey and Rhino regarding the press. I think even though Rhino says that he doesn't think that triceps has anything to do with the press, I disagree hugely on that. And he even says that he doesn't train the press regarding it coming from the tricep. But it's interesting, nevertheless, that both Rhino and Sergey are very elite regarding the close grip bench. And let's establish first what is the close grip bench training. So, okay, here we are in the Google. Let's just Google close grip bench press. And what does the close grip bench press work? the first thing Google says. The close grip bench press primarily works the upper chest, tricep, and anterior deltoids, the front deltoids. Compared to the standard barbell bench press, the shoulders and triceps take the most of the load. So, in other words, the close grip bench press is an tricep dominated pushing movement, as it is, but here is Google's also agreeing with me. So, going back to the main topic, it's interesting that Rhino actually does close grip bench press 160 kilos, which is 352 pounds. But and like we just go over the videos. Like here is Rhino doing the 160 kilo close grip bench. Like look how close that is. Like let's do this. He's gripping the bar, like you can see that here is the clear dot, the line where you should cover if you are doing powerlifting. And here is where the gnarling starts. So he's gripping from the very edge of the beginning of the gnarling. You know, so it's very close grip. So it is super tricep dominated movement. Okay. And then let's watch the Sergey's doing the same movement. Okay, here is his video on it. And as you see, I don't know, can we make up? Let's see, try to figure out how much there is weight on it. Is there anything we can? It would look like he has 180 kilos. That plate looks a little different than the others, but it looks 180 kilos to me, which is a very elite level close grip bench. And as you can see from the video again, he also, like here is the little section which you usually would cover with some finger, and it seems like that here is where the gnarling starts. There is the gap again. So it looks like he is also taking a very close grip bench press position on the bar, which obviously means that he is also he has very strong triceps from this movement alone. And it's interesting that Rhino said that when he started to do these separate tricep movements, he got weaker on the press. But I think that might be because he's already training this movement, like thinking it's normal bench press, I would assume. I don't know. He just says it's benching, not close grip benching. So it would appear that he is under the impression that he's just benching here, even though he is close grip benching, which means that he is more than just training his triceps, I would say. Anyway, so that's why I think Rhino and Sergey have both superior pressing power because they are very strong on the triceps from the close grip bench. Okay. Okay, then that was my first point. That was the connection between Rhino and Sergey and their close grip press results regarding and why they are good at pressing. So when Rhino says that he doesn't think triceps has anything to do with pressing, and he thinks that he isn't doing anything pressing related exercises, I think he's incorrect in those statements because this close grip press is his pressing exercise for the tricep. That is his tricep exercise, and he is elite level on it. Like I don't think I can do that. I do not do flat bench, but he is very strong on it, and Sergey is even stronger on it. And he's I don't know. I would think his press is even stronger than like Rhinos. And the other thing about this whole belly is the belly comes to the way as if the bicep comes into the way. Like like let's think about this. Let's say the person doesn't have a strong tricep and he tries to use the bicep as a pillow. You would get so much pain here because you have this tendon is still holding this position. It's still the tricep tendon which is holding this position, you know. Otherwise, this whole elbow would break if the tricep tendon wouldn't be strong enough to hold this position. And how I think Rhino has gotten that tendon to be so strong is by doing this close grip benching, which he is very strong at. So, in my opinion, the press comes from the side pressure and it comes from the tricep, not from the bicep. The bicep is a supporting structure, as if the belly in the deadlift is a supporting structure. Yes, it supports it, but you need still to have those back muscle very strong. Otherwise, otherwise people who just would be overweight and obese would immediately be the world's best deadlifters, but they're not because you don't need the muscles. It's the same way here. The the person with the biggest bicep is not automatically the best presser. You need the strong tricep and the strong tricep tendon to be holding this position. Okay, that is my, I think, second point. The first point was the rhinos. I think that was a separate point, so let's just dump it. That it was the first point was this whole connection with this. But then my like what I would my case how I think it goes. So that was what I talked about this the tricep and side pressure. So how I think then the thing is. Okay, let's go here. Okay, here is your person, like here is the head and here is the fist. Now this person is the arm wrestling position. You have your back pressure, which is the fist going to the face. You have your side pressure, which is arm going to the side. And you have your, let's call this front pressure, which is extending the arm away from your face. So I think, so if you look at this red line, and here is the color coded. The yellow is the side pressure. This is the pink is the back pressure. So the red is this, which is the combination of the two. This blue is front pressure, yellow is the side pressure, green is the combination of the two. This is the pressing strength. this is the strength that you are pulling to your pocket. As you can see, in this thing, here we have set the back pressure to be 10 kilos. Side pressure is 10 kilos. Front pressure, this pressure is 10 kilos. So in this case, just for example, and you can see that this, when these are 10, 10, 10, this is now 14 kilos, and this is 14 kilos. But now interestingly, if we add side pressure, let's go take side pressure all the way to 20 kilos. Now this yellow force vector is 20. This is 20. And now this is 22, as if this. Interestingly, the side pressure, adding side pressure, as you can see, made both of these strength vectors go up. Whereas if we just add back pressure to be 20, it still took it to the 22, but it did nothing to this pressing power. The same way, if we add front pressure to be 20, it did nothing to this going to your pocket power. Now this is 22. So this, I think, illustrates that the side pressure, how important it is in this. And Rhino made the statement that the side pressure comes from your tricep.
This exercise will focus only on your muscles, and to be specific, your tricep muscle, which is solely responsible for the strength of your side pressure at the very beginning of the match.
But I think this is not the case. The tricep makes this front pressure, but together with the front pressure and side pressure, you create the pressing pressure, which is to this direction, which is then the biggest force vector. You can add this and you can add that, and you get this. And if you look at the Rhino's matches, like let's go look them up. I think here is a good example of him doing his press. Is he all the way behind his hand in this? No, it appears as if he's pulling here, not here, here, as if, like with this, it's this force vector he's using. Not this one, not that one, but this one. And this force vector is always greater than either of these alone. You see that sometimes he doesn't get the press and he's just, I think that was purely side pressure that he used there. Like, he's nowhere near with side pressure, with back pressure. I think he was now using this force vector here. Because these two are the things you want to use, since they are your most power you can access. Because your body, it can only do this, and it can do this, and it can do this. Okay, I think that made the point clear. So, another point regarding the case for why side pressure is not tricep. To be fair, he didn't say side pressure is only tricep. He said that the side pressure at the beginning is only tricep. I think that's what he said. So I'm not saying this video is not meant to be saying Rhino is wrong. I'm just using Rhino's videos as an inspiration of thought on this topic. So I like his content, I like the person. I'm not meaning to say he is wrong. I'm just sharing my opinion and using his videos as an inspiration of this video. But let's take to what then is side pressure? Is if bicep is not side pressure and tricep is not side pressure, then what does generate side? What is the thing that generates side pressure? Here is we have an interesting match where I think we can learn something. It's Sadin versus Travis. This is the match which got Travis injured and which ended his career. So let's watch it. Okay, I don't know what round this is, but obviously after this Travis is injured. Let's look at it. Here, Travis is holding his armpit because that is where the side pressure comes from your armpit. The muscle that generates the side pressure is attached. It goes to the humerus bone in your armpit. So here he's injured. Then here's the video of Travis going to see some expert on the topic. Let's watch that video. Okay, here he is explaining to Travis the situation and how he is diagnosing him with the injury, the type of the injury he has.
Elbow, and there's not a good effort pushing back.
So he's telling him that he did a test in which Travis tried to do this movement and push back, which is testing the inward rotation of their arm.
And one of the four muscles in your rotator cuff, which is called your subscapularis.
So, did you hear that? He said that the subscapularis, a rotator cuff muscle,
comes off of the front of the scapula here, attaches right up in here, and it actually aids in that internal rotation. Most of it comes from the pec, but with you having some bruising right in here, you're being super tender in there and not being able to do this motion is rather concerning. And then also with you being, I don't want to say weak, but compared to your left arm, you can't pull in. Right?
So interestingly, he showed him he cannot do this inward rotation here, either or here. He means that, and he mentions that subscapularis muscle has to be injured. Let's look at the subscapularis muscle. Okay, here is your musculature. You have your pecs here. Under the pecs, if you remove the pecs, you have the pectoral minor, and here under the pectoral minor you have the subscapularis. Interestingly, all the way inside, and it is attached to your shoulder blade, so it's almost in your back. Here's a better picture of it. This is from the front and this is from the back. So here it is. This muscle Travis tore. So, in my opinion, this is the muscle which is responsible of side pressure. This is the muscle, like the expert here said to Travis. This is the muscle which does the inward rotation of the arm. So that is the muscle that generates this yellow force vector. Since you obviously the pec, the chest muscles, like he says, I disagree a bit on the fact that he said most of it comes from the pec, because in arm wrestling, your elbow is planted on the elbow pad. So the pec does not play as big of a role. It would be more important if your elbow would not be planted. But since it is planted, it kind of isolates that chest that you don't need it that much. So this inward rotation comes to play as more important. And it is this muscle here which generates the inward rotation of your humerus bone. Interestingly, of which Travis injured. I think also the the muscles people injure in arm wrestling tell you a lot about the muscles that are needed in arm wrestling. Because if a chain breaks, it's usually the weakest, it's usually the place where the most force is applied, where the chain breaks. You see bicep tears, you see, in Travis's case, you saw this tearing. So doesn't that tell you then? Because most people pull in the way that they are pulling to hit a pocket. So they have back pressure, they have side pressure. Most people try to max out this like so. They try to make this force vector be as much as possible by maxing out back pressure and side pressure, which leads to the injuries that we see regarding this and the bicep. Most people do not train the side pressure that heavy, so their side pressure is not so great that it would be able to injure itself. Like weak people are in a way safe from injury since they are not strong enough to injure themselves by applying power. Like if you are not strong enough, you cannot break yourself in a way. But if you have developed strong side pressure and back pressure, then it is possible for you to injure your bicep or injure your subcapularis, which is the side pressure muscle. So this is my case. First point was Rino and Sergey both maybe unknowingly trains their press with the close grip bench press, since the press comes from your front pressure and your side pressure, this force vector, making this as big as possible by maxing out this and this. More these are maxed out, the bigger this force vector becomes, which makes they press stronger. So I think in relationship to Rhino's video, I believe that the press comes from the front pressure, which is the tricep strength, and side pressure, which is the subcapillary strength, which is this muscle all the way here. And I do think the chest does play a role in it, but this person here, this muscle here, is very important regarding the inward rotation, which is the reason why Travis tore it, because one would assume that the muscle which broke was under the most stress. So since you saw in the Travis's match, he didn't break his chest, the pec. It was this subcapularis which broke, which is responsible for the inward rotation. Like this is not rotating, the pec is not rotating this bone like which is needed in arm wrestling. It's just bringing this humerus bone like close. It's just bringing it in. It's not rotating the palm to your chest. Okay, so this was my case. I think I thought it was interesting that they both are very elite in this close grip bench press, and it appears as if they do not give the movement enough credit regarding their superior pressing power. And I think this is the how the thing is really, like I explained it. But anyway, thanks and bye.